at historic sites. My God.
This church now, very thick stone. And my prisoners built this place.
Look here.
The Reverend George Eastman. Yeah, it's better. Let's go. Yeah.
Jadi itu mobil lebih itu suka.
is. Sorry. Mazana told you, Hannah.
Place, of course, was that men would be put to hard labour gathering raw materials, and other men would be put to task making things from those raw materials. Port Arthur always had an industrial side. Now, the most plentiful and most valuable raw material here was timber. Various species of eucalypts, which were described as being 150 feet to the first branch. Convicts produced anything from broomsticks to boats and ships, and this clearing we're coming alongside on your left-hand side is the dockyard, where they produced around 200 vessels altogether. The majority of these were longboats or whale boats. Whaling was a major industry in this early colony of Van Diemen's Land, so you can imagine craft like that being in big demand, and ships would travel from all over the world to hunt in these very fertile waters. A longboat is a very similar craft, but they were used to transport goods and personnel around the bays and inlets of this early colony, when travel across country was often quite difficult, if not totally impossible. But they built larger ships as well. The largest ship built at Port Arthur was 286 tonnes. She was also the largest ship built in the colony at that point in time. And what you can see sitting in one of the old slipways is an artist's sculptural representation of one of those craft under construction. Now, the operation at the dockyard was fairly independent of the rest of Port Arthur. They had their own blacksmith shops where they could make their own metal fittings and fastenings. They had their own sawpits. They used to use steamers. Steamers allowed the timbers to be heated up, makes them more pliable so they can be bent to the appropriate shapes. Up the back of that complex was a big shed where they used to cut and sew the canvas sails, as well as make up the rigging. And of course, all of this was under the watchful eye of a master shipwright. 20 ships around the coast experiencing difficulty. Now, it's quite a pleasant walk around to the dockyard. You just hop onto the road above the jetty, walk along a nice tree-lined avenue, and you were there. I recommend take your camera because there are some lovely images to be captured looking out across the bay. The settlement you can see in front is called Carnarvon. It originally started as a few fishermen's shacks and weekenders, but it is a residential area now. But it was actually the site of their brickfields where they used to gather the clay and fire their bricks. They could make tens of thousands per month if it was necessary, and it quite often was. If you keep on following that road, you can make it to Safety Cove, which is an absolutely beautiful beach, and further on, of course, is the lookout and remarkable cave. Not much of a detour, but it's well worth the look. Now, we're travelling towards a headland which is called Point Puer. It's spelled P-U-E-R, which is Latin for youth or boy. It was named as such in 1834 when they established a specifically designed juvenile prison here. It was the first sanctioned juvenile prison under British control, and the average age of a convict was around 12 to 15, but the youngest of them were only 9 years of age. They were the pickpockets, the petty thieves, who came from the larger industrial towns of Great Britain, but the majority seemed to have come from London and the London districts. And they were the artful dodgers, but very much the real thing. People are often appalled at the fact that they were transporting children as young as 9, but the sadder fact is that the age of responsibility in Britain at this time was age 7. A boy or girl caught and convicted could be thrown into jail at that age, but the problem was it was the same jails for everybody, men, women and children. These places are convicts, but to give them their proper status, convicts, term means convicted person, invalids, there's a person who can't work properly because of illness or injury, and paupers, who are men who had grown old within the system and simply had nowhere else to go, no other means of support. And finally, lunatics. The term lunatic means you're off with the moon.